All right, class. So we're here with the first video for the week, and we're going to commence with the Andean civilizations. Um, I'll start with an apology. I really wish I could get more depth. We're going to have kind of a brisk pace through this stuff, so not a ton of depth or breadth, but you will get a better understanding that the Andean region is not just the Inca. There's tons of social complexity before the Inca get going with their empire. So we'll go through that. Let's get into the PowerPoint. What I'd like to do first is just give you some kind of basic intro, and then we'll start getting into a little more depth. So the Inca in the Andes. So there you see the Andean culture area. That big green thing to the right of the red circle is the Amazon jungle. And I'll say this, I don't know if it'll come up later, so I want to get it out now. It's archaeologically speaking, the archaeology of the Amazon is kind of at the forefront of exploration now. We don't know a ton about it. It's going to be all sort of hunter-gatherer stuff and really hard to find because of how quickly the jungle, turns over in terms of the life cycle of its plants. But but there are people doing that and they are having some success. So don't be surprised if in the next 10 years or so you start to hear about some really cool Amazonian discoveries. But we're going to be on the other side of the Andes looking at the cultures that reach high degrees of social complexity, state level complexity on the west coast of South America. And let me point that out too. Any of you who your geography is a little shaky, we have shifted now. We've been in Mexico. We were in Central America. Now we're coming down into South America. Yes, Amazonia. Thank you. So the you see here the major sites. We'll talk about them. Sipan, Chanchan, Chavin de Huantar is where we'll start. Some early, well, not exactly where we'll start. The first kind of social complexity areas. The early sites, El Paraiso, El Corral, and then of course the famous Incan sites of Machu Picchu and Cusco, and then Tiwanaku down to the south. So these are the important places. If you notice the color scheme along the coast, you can match it to the chronology down here, and we're going to be talking about these kind of different cultures in sequence, in chronological sequence. We've already been to South America a little bit when we talked about the peopling of the Americas, the site of Monteverdes, all the way down in Chile, like all the way to the bottom of South America. And it has really early levels arguing for that kelp kind of superhighway transition over the Bering Land Bridge and down south, obviously. This environment's kind of unusual. There's the coast, the west coast, is actually dry, and I'll show you that in a minute. So it's not a verdant coastal area, but once you get up into Altiplano, this high, very flat area, it does get greener. And then as you get into the Andes Mountains and into the foothills of those mountains, you get these kind of deep, steep valleys. So the reason the coast is dry is that the way the wind currents work and the way the weather fronts move, it ends up creating a rain shadow between the Andes or the Altiplano and the coast. So the rains don't fall there. It's important to know, if say in my intro to archaeology class, we talk a little bit about El Nino effects. So the Andes region is those coastal states are going to have to deal with El Nino effects as well as the Chumash of California, who had to deal with them through time. So normal Peruvian currents, cool water, fishing's good, not a lot of coastal rain. If it's an El Nino, the fishing goes out the window, and catastrophic flooding occurs. And the problem is, you see the El Nino effects happen every 5 to 15 years. They're inconsistent, so they're really hard to plan for. It's not an exact cycle, like say winter or a dry season, right? So they're difficult to overcome in that way. And they're still occurring. There's one in 97 and 98. All right, see me in the next video. We'll get started with the really early stuff called the pre-cotton times, and then we'll get into Chavin, and that's the culture for this week. I'll see you.